You may already know this, but life is incomprehensible. You will never figure it out. Try as hard as you may, be as brilliant as you might be, you will not find anything that will give you the answer to the equation. There is no answer that is comprehensible to the human mind, period. But the thing that poses the question, the thing that brings you into awareness, the thing that wants to know, is looking through your eyes right now. It is listening through your ears. It is breathing through your nose or mouth. And I'm not even sure it's looking for the answer as much as witnessing the incomprehensible. And witnessing it in many ways is enough. And if you can settle into being a witness, observing the unknowable, the unanswerable, witnessing its absolute beauty and horror, love and hatred, without trying, in a sense, to put it together so that you can go, aha, now I get it. If you can let go of that and just settle into witnessing that which cannot be known, you will find something approaching fulfillment as a human being. Knowing is not the way to fulfillment. Not knowing is a much more extraordinary path. Letting go of the cognitive part of your existence, or at least putting it in perspective, will allow you to begin to feel what it means to be alive and a witness to what is not comprehensible. That's the journey we're on. Somehow we're programmed early on to figure it out, to make sense of the whole, to find our way into, okay, now I know. And people do. They do. Not only do they find their way into it, they lock onto it. They lock onto the absolute knowing and truth. It can be all different forms of that. Many of us know it as a kind of like religion. Because the wonderful thing about religious precepts is that you don't have to think about it. You don't have to cognate. You don't have to figure it out. It's given to you. You go, oh, that's what it is. This is this and this is that. And that's how it works. Done. And there's something comforting in that. And maybe something true in it. But the question is, what do you do with the part of you that has to live life under the precepts of some other teaching, something that's fed into your system that involves belief and not knowing, that involves a cognitive process that you've handed over to other people to work for you so you don't have to bother? What happens when you live a life that is known because it's taught and delivered to you by other forces? What kind of life is that? And I think all of us looking at the world today are getting a picture of people with certainty. This is how it is. This is the way it is. This is what it should be. This is what everybody should know and think about and believe on a daily basis. The world of the known and the structured known can be problematic. It's not as alive as the world of the unknown, of the unfolding, the witnessing, as opposed to the holding and the grasping and the certainty of certain kinds of day-to-day existence. And a lot of suffering in the world comes not just so much from having and knowing and certainty, but to the final realization that you don't know, and the certainty is a complete sort of fabrication, and that the only ultimate truth is letting go of all of that and witnessing this exquisite unknowing. When you are holding on, the biggest problem that comes out of that is the fact, and it is a fact, that at some point, everything will be taken away. Your body, your mind, your history, your story, your beliefs, everything, all of your certainty will be taken away. Now, even that could be wrong, but the biological knowledge of that is very powerful. At some point, this materialized form is gone. We've all witnessed that. What does that mean? And how much of the absolute certainty that you've had in life that distinguished your life will travel with you where you go? Well, Blanche and I are beginning to experience how much of that already falls away before you leave. How much of the certainty, the memory even of your whole existence just starts to puddle up and not have any value at all. It just starts to disappear. Luckily, I'm saying luckily because not everybody's lucky, but much of the time, all of it disappears and you feel better. You feel like, oh, I can't remember half of my life. And it doesn't matter. It's like an emptiness. It's like a freedom. It's like something falling away that gives you more present tense, if you will. And it's kind of miraculous. But for some people, the falling away is really traumatic, really painful, full of suffering. Not able to recall, not able to know who you are in the given moment, that's really hard. And it gets delusional. It creates all sorts of issues and problems. But the reality is it's all going to go. And when you finally learn to let go of certainty and of the acknowledgement of that you have somehow the key to the truth of life, let it all go. And the key to the truth of life arises. But you'll never be able to grasp it. You'll never be able to acknowledge it as a you and an it, because the key to life sits in a space that you don't exist. Your body, your mind, your entity that you are right now will, I believe, fall away. That's what most people experience, called death. And yet, my sense of what is happening in the day-to-day life is, as everything falls away, the key is right there. It's just there, but it has no you in it. It's just present. And you can't cognate it. You can't make sense of it. All you can do is go. It's kind of the production of awe, just pure awe. Like when you see a beautiful painting or a flower or whatever that is, that's finally in some way, and I hate to put this in a cognitive as a truth because it's, God knows it may be wrong, but the experience that I have so far as Bruce falls further and further away from the equation is the beauty remains, the awe remains. Not only does it remain, it's the source of everything. It's just there. The awe is there. And the only problem between you and experiencing awe is you think you know stuff. You think you have the answers. You can believe you have them. You can let that work on, like, oh, yes, I understand this picture is really beautiful because it has that kind of contrast and that kind of coloration and that kind of balance and harmonic. And you look at a Picasso or you look at a Monet and you go, oh, I get why it's so beautiful. No, no, just let that go and go. Stumble upon it, walk into it, open up to it. The awe of existence, the awe of being only comes when you finally just let go. Or if you allow yourself to sit in this meditative space for a period of time during the day, you will discover a pathway to, an entry to the awe itself. You will just go, huh. It didn't come cognitively. It didn't come from a mental space. It didn't come from a book. It didn't come from anything. It's just there. And you find your way into this space and you go from meditating, from sitting still, from letting go of all the noise for a period of time and just finding your way into the source, which happens to be moving through you, or if you will, emanating you, expressing you all the time. And when the body falls away and the mind falls away, maybe, I think, I think pretty much certainly, you'll still be there, but not in the form you know, not in the cognitive witnessing, the sense of you're the person who's putting it together. The person who created this, the being that created it, will be present, and the body, form, mind, etc., will be gone. But the most familiar thing that remains is what's been there from day one, is this, oh, this is a story, maybe. Maybe I'm giving it to you in a way that you can grasp onto something, but all I can tell you is the process of letting go of everything is a joyful, expansive reality that is beyond anything the mind can ever know. And if you can find your way there, I promise you as a friend, and can't promise you as anything else, that there's something waiting. That's all I know. And I'm talking about experience. And the experience is the falling away is revelatory. Who knew? Maybe Rudy knew. He certainly gave me a practice and a mechanism that led to, or has led to, me speaking to you now. I didn't start out with knowing anything. I didn't start out with feeling this stuff, or maybe I did. But all I know is I have been brought back into a core witnessing reality that is worth sharing and talking about. And I get the feeling, and I think it's more than a feeling, that I am not unique, and that every one of us, every single one of us, not only has access to that space, but we derive from that space. And we have I don't know if it's an obligation, because I don't think it cares, but it's certainly worth the effort to dig deep, go down, open up, breathe into, find, ask for help, anything, to experience this absolute core wonder. And you won't have to understand any of it. In fact, understanding will take it away. Understanding is problematic. Let go, let go. Be dumb as can be, but feel it. Just feel it. And it will bring you what they probably call wisdom. It's not knowledge, just wisdom. Wisdom is living in it, speaking it, and manifesting it, letting it rear its head. As I call it, radiate it. Be the radiance. That's what we're here for. And if you can do that, and you can, every one of you can, and every one of you is drawn to this for a reason. You're drawn to this because something in you opened up to it for some sense, for some purpose. And that purpose is to serve it as a witness, not a knower exactly, or a cognator, but as a presence that is pure in and of itself, that manifests through your body and gave you a body in the first place. It's extraordinary. It is extraordinary. My only message to any of you is do it. Do it. I can't promise anything, But I'm the last person who would ever have found this thing. I am in no way special or more special than any of you. Not an ounce of me is more special. And I know if I can go and be shown that space, live in that, and emanate from it, so can you, every one of you. And I'm not saying it's an obligation, but boy, it's worth the effort. It is worth trying to find this place because you will be a light unto the world. You already are, but if you don't know it and you're not radiating, what's the value? A light that's sitting in the corner that's never turned on, okay, what do you do with that? I'm just saying, turn the switch, guys. Go inside, do what you can do. I'm not going to say you're supposed to do, because I think in a way they don't care. I think the source is fascinated by every one of our choices, including our cognitive choices. People who sit around thinking it and working it out, the Einsteins of the world, it loves all that. Even the kids who are sitting in school trying to learn how to spell, it loves all that. It promotes cognitive learning, but it's not the answer. Even someone like Einstein comes to an understanding that it's so beyond anything he could ever know. And so all of us can follow all the paths we want, but I'm just trying to encourage you, take your 20 minutes every day or whatever it is. If you can make it, it will come to a point where it's all day long and all night long. That's what it really starts to be. It's like, it's like everything you could have dreamt of in the world, it becomes available. It's just there for all of us. And I can talk about it all day, and you all know that, so I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to just let you know that the message of this is try to find your way to this space without thinking about it. Just do it. Thank you. George.
It's sort of resonating with me that we all seem to want to find somebody to tell us where to go and what to do. And the reason eventually, he always said, you have to do your own work.
George is saying that most of us wanting to find someone to tell us what to do and where to go. And Rudy basically said, you have to do your own work. I would share that. And, yeah, we all look for teachers, and then you try to hang it on the teacher. If you're a real teacher, you got to tell people you have no clue. Just kind of emanate the truth as best you can, what you know, and find if you have a voice for it, great. If you don't have a voice for it, just be it. People will pick it up. People know when the light's on, they know when the light's off. That's all. It's not like big brilliance at all in your head. It's something, oh, light's on, sunshine. Okay. It's amazing. Anybody else?
Bruce? Hey, Bruce, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Bruce.
Hi, Mark.
Good to see you.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
Tricky, isn't it? I mean, it really is tricky when your whole life up to this point, we're taught to know, right? To get the answer. School, work, everything, family, everyone wants you to know something, right? To know what you're doing, how to do it. And then you're telling us that that's not the way, right? That is so hard, really, to wrap around, because everything is about to know an answer. And then you're saying, don't do that, because that is not the way to this other place. And so that trick of how do you get past that mind that has been programmed to know everything, and then you're coming in with, well, that's really not the place to get to the place you talk about every week.
I think you know the answer to that, but let me try to get at it for a second. Yes, we're programmed into cognitive awareness and making the world a knowable place through the mind. That's what we're here for. And we have to work and function in three-dimensional space and materialized world with the mind and with cognating it every day. And school's good and learning is good. And none of this is unnecessary. It's all part of the equation. But if you are initiated into, stumble upon, or just suddenly question the whole idea of all of this, and you find yourself going into a inner space, a quietude, what Buddha did, he sat under a tree for 6 years trying to get to that space. So it's not like you just go take a breath and go there. It's clearly something that you have to do. But if you go into that space, what you discover is, wow, wow. And it's a space that not gives up, but lets cognition sort of live in its own zone, but begins to experience the universe from a different dimensional space that is more tactile, emotional, revelatory, powerful than anything the mind can get. So all of your schooling at that point won't hold on to it. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It still functions in the day-to-day narrative life, but you start to live a life that is somehow connected to something that most of the daily teaching doesn't lead to. If you're lucky, you stumble upon, in my case, a Rudy, or whatever it is that breaks you open and tells you there's more here than you've ever imagined. And then you start to explore what that is. And as you explore it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The mind cannot contain how big it is or what it's trying to tell you. So it just kind of gives up. The mind, it's not like you let it go so much as it just can't go there. So you just exist in this space of dynamic being, and it says everything, but you cannot necessarily give it context that makes you or other people get it, because it's not how you get it. You are it. You just are it, and it opens you up to what you are. So not to put aside thinking, thought, and all the other stuff that examines the amazing world we live in. It really helps us. It helps us create medicine and styles of living that can be more and more joyful and comfortable. But it's only the material plane. The immaterial, the unmanifested, is still here, still vibrant. And most of the people I've ever met in my life are clueless to that existence. They have no idea. But you guys sitting here today in this room and elsewhere, you're not clueless. You know there's something else, and you've begun the journey into that. All I'm trying to do is help you energetically with the things Rudy taught me of how to help energize the journey into those spaces inside that are beyond knowing and are so revelatory on every level. If you want to know really, the mind is not the answer. This other thing is an answer, but it will not be understandable at all. Does that help? I mean, I don't want to denote.
No, that's good. It's always funny. I mean, it's like that mind that wants to know, even when we're meditating or in that space, it still is working to want to know, what's happening right now. And that always seems to get in the way as well, right? Even
it does.
Trying to find a space, and then your mind's like trying to understand and trying to figure out what this space is saying to you is also, in the way.
I understand that, and my mind, because I never had a really great mind, my mind has given up. It's just going, you're not going to get it, so don't even bother. That's where I'm at. Not everybody gets there. I have a lot of people I know and love who are very, very cognitively involved and will try to express this. They can write books about it. There's a million things you can do, but the real getting it in the end will not be cognitive, I don't believe. And I'm kind of saying that because of the experience of it at this point. It's too big. I mean, I can't figure out the world. I cannot figure out anything, and it doesn't matter because the vibrancy of being is expressive enough. It gives me enough. I will live my life with amazing awareness and clarity and joy and everything, but I'll never understand it.
Bruce?
Yes.
So I see over in the side here, Rudy is right behind you, smiling at you, and he's saying, now you're starting to get it. I just love it. I love that in the idea of the fact that we have to let it all go and that we don't get to hold on to it. It's like you learn it, you be it, you feel it, you know it, and then part of it is letting it go and knowing that that was just an experience, an expression of life. And I see Rudy just smiling at you, you know, right there, just going, yes, well done, Bruce.
Well, I mean, but I needed a teacher. He appeared in an extraordinary way, and I have followed what he taught me. I've just been a student, and that's, I don't know how that occurs. I mean, again, we could try to figure it out, but I can't figure any of it out. And all I know is I suspect when you leave the world, everything you know is going to go anyway. And if you don't find a skill set for letting it go, it's taken away in the Jacob's Ladder-ish version. You've got to do everything and unprocess everything and finally get to the point of total simplicity where something leads you into the light.
Yeah.
But you got to let it go. It's a lot of work. I mean, my experience, Tibetan Book of the Dead type experience, is the Bardo state after you leave this world is doing everything you could do right now.
I watched my father do that when he was dying. There was a woman that kept coming and meeting with him, and she kept saying, "Michael, you're dying so well." And I didn't quite understand it, but I understand now what she was saying and what you've just explained. It's part of it is just the process of letting it all go.
Yeah, and your dad knew enough, and on his deathbed through enough teaching,
Yeah.
particularly through Rudy, what to do. But if you can do it sooner, I'm telling
Right.
you, the day-to-day life is like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, unexpressibly right
Yeah.
on every level. It's beyond belief, but I don't understand it. But it doesn't matter. Anybody else? Thank you, Rudy.
Bruce?
Yes.
Oh,
Dale.
Bruce?
Mhm.
There's two of us. Okay, go ahead.
Dale, go.
Yeah, yeah.
Dale?
Who, me?
Yeah, you,
Oh,
Dale.
yeah.
I believe Dale here.
Yeah. Speaking of just not understanding anything and how amazing the turn of events can be. My oldest daughter is a gem, but she's correcting me all the time. And, no, Mom, that wasn't 20 years ago. That was 40 years ago. And no, you don't do it that way. Now, it'd be much more sense if you did such and such. And if you sold your house and just didn't have the care of it and so on. And all the time telling me, correcting me. And I kind of resent it, but I love her enormously. And she found you for me. She found you on Bat Gap, Buddha at the gas pump, the interview, almost 10 years ago. And I think, well, things happen strange ways. She knew that she called me after she listened to the interview, and she said, "I just met someone online that I think you should meet. I think you'd really like him."
Well,
So there you go. So
I'm grateful for your
gave me
daughter.
you, and she irritates me to death.
Yeah, well, I mean, being in the world is we're victimized by dualities. We just are. And that's how it plays out. And you can't necessarily figure out the how and the why. You just take each one as it comes. And if Rudy's idea, if it's in front of you, it's yours. If she's doing this number on you in the day, you just have to love her while she does it and move forward. And you know all these things, Dale, because I've known you now long enough to know that you're very skilled at it. But yes, life is odd, and coincidences are odd. Things that happen in life are odd often. And sometimes the oddest coincidences are the most important and significant parts of our life. So you just have to open, you can't figure out how and why did that happen. You just can't. It just happens. It's there. And at certain points when I look at life from a deeper angle, I don't see the why, but I see it was supposed to be. And it's pretty powerful. Was there anybody else? I think there was one more voice.
Yeah, it was me. I just wanted in understanding your words, it sounds like what you're referring to might be called the joy of being.
Yeah, it's good. I like that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and in the most intimate, personal, evolved sense imaginable. And the idea that joy is at the core of being. I mean, that's hard for people to understand because often there's suffering and misery and all that other stuff. But go deeper. Go deeper. The only suffering that's happening is to a person, to a being. And if you can start to extricate yourself, and you can't really do that to the very end, but along the way, just a little bit less and a little bit less, you just find that there's joy underneath all this stuff. I mean, I have horrible nighttime pains and all this kind of stuff, but I don't lie in bed going, oh, why me, God? I watched this thing happening, and then I wake up in the morning with light pouring through the window and joy of being, and I just go, there's pain and there's joy, and there's waking up and there's going to sleep, and there's all of this stuff. And you cannot think that you're going to find the what can I say, the antidote to suffering. It's not like that. You're going to find how to suffer differently, just differently. Life is tough. It is tough on bodies, on minds, on everything. But witness the witness watching all this, and the witness is going, wow, wow, this is what it is to be alive. This is what it is to be human. This is what I created. Wow. That's our ride. Anybody else?
I have a thought. Um,
Mhm.
This is Sherry.
Sure.
It's amazing. I mentioned to you, I feel so lucky to be here. And I'm wondering, is there something about the fact that I look and I see there's like 30 of us and in this big world, and here we are in this small space. Is there something about the few of us or the number of us that have come together for some particular reason?
I think I get the feeling that even small aggregates of people working together nurture each other. That's
Mm.
my thing. What I found during the class, well, I've found this many times, but it's what they call cross-pollination. When I work with a group of people, and there are people in this room, there are people on the screen. I mean, there's a number of us, and we're all here working for each other, whether you know that or not. The energy from one person goes to the other. When you work on a Zoom screen, which is really fascinating, the proximities are quite intriguing to me, and how the energy flows above and horizontal. It moves around the screen, and I can feel the energy of one person impacting another person, and that they're presented in a way that speaks to something larger. Do I understand that? No, but I feel it. It works and it happens. And if I'm right, great. And if I'm wrong, I mean, every one of you can switch off at any given second and go, what's he talking about? I don't buy this. And I am completely fine with that. On the other hand, as a collective, we are all getting something incomprehensible. I mean, in Rudy's classes in New York City, we would all sit and get this thing. And all of us went off on our journey. Some people are still here right now, literally in this room, and there are other people who moved on in other directions, and all I can tell you is the collective energy is very potent, and that it works, and that we all benefit together. That's all I know. So then you arrive here, you are serving not only yourself, but we're serving one another. And that's really important. And if you bring that into the world around you, it doesn't have to be a Rudy teaching. It's just your energy, your energy. And if you have it light, your radiance, it's the light in the corner of the room that lights up the room. People go in and, oh, this is bright. It's nice. That's just be that.
I love
It's
that.
not hard, guys. Not hard. You just have to do it. Okay, we're going on and on here. I'm going to stop questions for now. I love you guys and thank you for being here. And next week, well, actually, no, next week there will be no class. I'm going to Washington, D.C. to visit my son Ari and his wife Burju. My son Josh and his kids are coming, and Blanche and I are coming, and Blanche's birthday is on Thursday, so this is like a big birthday weekend for her, and no class next week. So this one will have to percolate for 2 weeks. I hope that'll work. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with another in-person class and New York East Coast class. And we'll just keep it going until you get tired of it.